Hi guys, good evening. Welcome back once again to The Edward, where tonight's video I will be doing my episode review and recap for episode 2 of season 6 of AMC's The Walking Dead. Whoo boy. Now, of course, before I begin with every review and recap episode video that I do, I know I always repeat myself, but good information is worth repeating twice. If you are not caught up on The Walking Dead, if you didn't see the season premiere, or if you didn't see tonight's episode, don't continue watching or listening to this video, as I will be discussing big spoilers that happened in tonight's episode and everything that went down, because holy crap, man. Whoo. So you have been warned. Let the record show you have been warned. Wow, this was pretty big for the second episode. I mean, I thought the season premiere was quite large in scale, and this is a damn near second. Alexandria becomes under attack by the wolves, and all of the worst part is that all of the abled bodies are out on the mission to divert the huge walker herd away from Alexandria. And of course, around that time is when most of our fighters are gone, leaving only a few people left to protect Alexandria, some of whom are not in their right state of mind or real skilled fighters to begin with. But wow, this was a hell of an episode. I loved it. I really, really loved it. I think this is probably, and I mean this literally, this was literally one of the most bloody episodes of The Walking Dead. Now, when I say bloody, yeah, we get our share of graphic violence and gore on this show on a regular basis. That's nothing new. But when I say bloody, I mean literally blood everywhere. I mean, they really went all out on the blood splatter effect. I mean, they used tons of dark red liquid and makeup effects in this episode. I mean, there was a lot of impaling, stabbing, killing, shooting, hacking with machetes and knives. Ugh. It was yikes. And this was like I said, this was literally one of the bloodiest episodes ever, because multiple characters were covered in blood and had blood coming out of them, because obviously they were killed, they were dying, and our main characters who survived were left with blood all over their clothes. This was a big bloody episode. So basically, to just quickly recap, you guys, our main characters, most of our lead characters, are out on a big mission to divert this huge walker herd away from Alexandria. It was going so well until somebody started blasting a truck horn. And the biggest theory was that it was the wolves. Well, this episode showed how it happened. It turns out the wolves attacked Alexandria like a small war party with at least a dozen, 2 dozen wolves from what we see, because a lot of our main characters who stayed in Alexandria each killed about 2 or 3 wolves each. That's most of our main characters. Rosita, Carol, Maggie, Morgan, Carl got a few of them, and Aaron got some as well. So, we saw quite a few main characters kill quite a few wolves. So it was a big attack party. And basically, the blasting horn came from when one of the wolves charged the gates of Alexandria, and Spencer, who was on watch in the watchtower, desperately tried to take shots at it. And he did hit the truck a few times, which caused the truck to go out of control. And it did hit the wall, but it didn't completely flatten it. Like, the wall wasn't completely... the wall is compromised, but it didn't completely take the whole wall down. It just left a big, nasty dent in the wall, which is hopefully fixable, especially since you have a massive, massive herd of walkers coming at you. So, that happened, and then it's when sure enough, I thought, well, the driver's limp body is probably what's blasting on the horn right now, but it turns out the wolves had baited it, had set it up that way so the horn would be blasting, as soon as it would hit the wall. They're clever with their traps. And Spencer desperately tries to get into the truck to turn off the horn because he knows it's just going to draw walkers. He doesn't know about the herd that's approaching the town, but he knows the noise in general will attract walkers, so he's desperately trying to get at it. Thank God Morgan shows up in the nick of time to dispatch the walker that was left in the cab of the truck, and then he flips off the horn. So no more blaring horn noise, thank God. But at the same time, we don't know how close that walker herd is now towards Alexandria, because they were started their way off the road into the woods, and we don't know how far off they are. But that's not the focus of this episode. This episode about the wolves attacking Alexandria and our remaining characters who are forced to defend it. I absolutely loved Carol in this episode. Loved her. She is so smart and strategic and incredibly resourceful. I mean, she disguised herself as a wolf when she realized she could just take some blood, put a W on her forehead. However, it increased the chance, the risk of her getting shot down by one of her own people, mistaking her for one of the attackers. But as we saw demonstrated several times, she was able to approach the wolves that were attacking and shoot them point blank range, as were most of our characters. And another intriguing thing about this episode is that the wolves weren't armed with guns. They had either clubs, machetes, knives, and God, I thought I saw one with a mace, or at least a short chain or something. But they were basically just armed. They were armed to the teeth, just not with guns or bullets. Just slashing, stabbing weapons. And I thought that was an incredibly bold move on their part, a risky move, because Alexandria is fairly well armed, but unless the wolves know that the people there are fairly weak, they knew they could do it really fast. I mean, then again, even if they knew there were or weren't any guns there, they pulled a real I think their advantage was how quick it was, because as soon as they scaled the walls, they were just killing people left and right. They were going into houses, looting houses, but mostly killing people. I mean, there was this one guy with an axe who was hacking Alexandria residents to bits. Oh man, that was hard to watch. But fortunately, Carol and Morgan, I believe, gunned him down. Well, Morgan actually didn't do a whole lot of killing. He beat the hell out of quite a few wolves with that big walking stick of his, and he saved Gabriel's life, unfortunately. But this episode, we really see how uncomfortable and unsettling it is for Morgan when there's any loss of life. Regardless if it's a good guy or a bad guy, he does not like seeing people dying. No problem killing walkers. He doesn't have a problem killing walkers. You can't kill what's already dead. Walkers are a different story, but living, breathing people, whether they be good or bad, it just really bothers him. You can tell by the way he looks, and he just looks frustrated and shocked when Carol just points a gun at the wolves and just execute him on the spot, because after he saved Gabriel, they tied the one guy up, but then Carol shut him up by putting a bullet in his head, and then gave guns to Gabriel and Morgan, neither of whom were comfortable with it. Gabriel, on the one hand, he's just a giant wussy who can't really shoot for shit, but Morgan flats out just refuses to use guns, and it just makes me wonder, when we get into his backstory, what caused him to be so repulsed by killing. At least the killing of people. Killing walkers, one story. Killing people, that's another story. So we'll see where that goes. But wow, this episode was just so big, and there's just so much going on, and it was interesting to see how each character was handling it. Our new surgeon, Denise, who was like a student in psychology but wanted to become a surgeon eventually, is now forced to step up when an Alexandria resident, the person we've never met till now, Holly, took a nasty stab to the chest. They bring her in, and Eugene, of all people, tells her to suck it up and not be a coward, where Tara is really telling her to not do that either. Don't be a coward and do your job and help her. And Denise does her best. She tries to save Holly, but to no avail. And it's pretty heartbreaking for her. You can tell by the look on her face. And then Rosita and Aaron and Carol and Morgan are all busy gunning down the wolves. They're just running up to them, and they're just shooting them point blank on those spot. It's like they're not even giving them a chance to raise their arms and defend themselves. They're just killing them one at a time. Jesse really stepped up in this episode. Holy crap. First off, she and Sam lock themselves in Sam's special little closet, but when they think it's all clear, she tells Sam to relock the door after she leaves because she thinks Ron is home, but it turns out it's just a woman scavenging through her kitchen. They get into a superheated struggle, and then grabbing her hair cutting scissors, screams and just stabs this bitch to death. And I'm like, holy crap. And you know what it was? This was like seeing raw gut instinct come out. Like, this was her defending her home, defending her son, and this was also, I think, all of the rage and the raw emotion that she's been feeling lately when she was being abused by her husband, and when Rick killed him, and just losing her husband, dealing with her son's problems, Ron being resentful of her, blaming her for her dad's death, and Sam being pretty unresponsive about it. This is a great way for her to take out all of this pent up frustration and just raw emotion. And fortunately, the best way to do that is to take it out on somebody who deserves it, which is like this horrible scavenging woman with the wolves. And she just stabs her to death, and Ron comes around the corner. He's like, "Whoa, okay, Mom, I think she's dead." That was like the look on his face. And then, speaking of Ron, Carl saves his life from a wolf, but then when he tells Ron to get inside the house, he sees Enid standing there. He's like, "No, I'm better on my own." And he's like, "Dude, come on, this isn't the time for a teen love triangle. The town is under attack. You're under attack, and you're being attacked with machetes and clubs and knives with these savages." And oh god, it was so cool when Morgan took on all 6 wolves. And of course, who should return but those 2 motherfuckers from the earlier episode, from the season 5 finale, the 2 who ambushed Morgan in the woods. Those 2 assholes showed up, and the blonde one is like 5 other wolves with him, and they each try charging at Morgan, but Morgan is a badass with that walking stick, and he is not trying to kill them. In fact, every wolf he encounters, unless he's forced to defend himself, tells them to leave and get out now. And he beats the hell out of 3 of them, leaving them bloodied on the ground, and then the blonde wolf and the other 2 just get out of there. They're like, okay, this guy's clearly pretty strong. We're not going to fuck with him anymore. And Morgan spares their lives, really. He tells them, get the hell out of here and never come back. It's like, I appreciate the humanity, Morgan, but at the same time, these people are practically animals, and you can't really reason or trust animals. And one of those sons of bitches grabs a pistol on his way out, and then Morgan is able to close the main gate once the remaining wolves escape. After most of the war party's been dispatched by our main characters, the rest of them escape. Except for one final one, the one that Morgan encounters in the house. It's the long-haired son of a bitch who held him at gunpoint at his campsite. And he tries to taunt Morgan for a little bit, and they get into this nasty bloody fist fight and just start wailing on each other until Morgan finally gets his walking stick back, and he's panting really hard. He's like, "I'm sorry." And I'm assuming, then again, he may have spared him, but I'm assuming he killed him with a hit hard enough at close range with that walking stick. He probably cracked his skull, I'm assuming. We don't, then again, we don't see this guy die. We don't see Morgan actually kill him. It's just heavily implied. But I'm hoping he killed him, and I'm like, please don't take any prisoners with these fuckers, because if they escape, they're going to start slashing people's throats and then bring their buddies back. And speaking of bringing their buddies back, after all the chaos has died down, Aaron is looking like people start going around and they start stabbing the heads of the dead so they don't return. After Aaron stabs this one guy, he looks through at his supplies and recognizes his backpack. His backpack with the maps leading to Alexandria, the photos of Alexandria, all of the information that the wolves would need in order to carry out an attack like this. And the realization, the super hard hit on his face when he realizes, oh my God, this is because of me. This is all my fault. I lost my backpack, and this is what happened. This is how these people found us, through my information. And you can tell this is just absolutely gut-wrenching and devastating to him. He doesn't even have to open his mouth. The look of pure terror and realization on his face said more than words possibly could. And you're just sitting there feeling so sad, so bad for poor Aaron. You're like, Oh, dude. Granted, it was an accident. I mean, he was ambushed in the heat of the moment, dropped his bag when Morgan saved him and Daryl from the car, surrounded by walkers. But you could argue that he is indirectly responsible for this. But at the same time, I think this was inevitable. Just knowing that the wolves were out there and they were just making their way from camp to camp, burning and killing and just taking whatever they wanted. And these people were pretty nasty looking. Some ugly, ugly survivors, men and women. They were just so animalistic. It just made it all the better. And this was just overall a fantastic episode. And we also have to remind ourselves that this was all happening during while the rest of our characters are trying to desperately lead away the massive herd that's coming towards Alexandria. Oh, by the way, the whole reason for Morgan even coming back to Alexandria was at Rick's request to give everybody an update as to how the plan is going. And he still hasn't mentioned to everybody yet, oh, by the way, guys, there's like a couple thousand walkers heading right at us, so we might want to consider hightailing it out of here. He doesn't even have a chance to tell anybody because by the time he gets there, the wolves are already attacking the place and he's engaged in battle for the rest of the episode. In fact, this whole episode, for the most part, I mean, not all of it, but most of this episode was like one long battle. And it was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal episode. It was interesting to see some backstory for Enid. And for the longest time, we're all wondering JSS, which is the title of the episode. JSS, what the hell does that stand for? JSS. And then after the battle dies down and Carl's in the house, just keeping guard over Judith, he finds a note Enid left for him saying, just survive somehow, JSS. And I personally think this was a lesson or something that was instilled in her by her parents, because in the flashback we see her parents working on the car and then walkers come out of nowhere and we don't see the actual attack, but obviously the car's all bloody. She's watching from inside the car as the walkers eat her dead parents. I think this was a lesson in survival that her parents probably taught her before they died. Just somehow survive. Just survive somehow. And I think she kept writing those initials down wherever she was to keep her spirits up and to keep herself going after losing her parents like that and eventually finding Alexandria, which apparently she has had enough of given the fact that it was just attacked by savages. So overall, fantastic episode. I mean, pretty tough to watch with just these brutal murders that were happening right in front of us and these poor weak-willed Alexandria people, although quite a few of them stepped up. Spencer took some shots, Aaron took shots, Denise took charge as the surgeon. Tara was pretty, key in giving her strength. Hell, even Eugene stepped up, which was great. So overall, fantastic episode, and I cannot wait for the next one and the rest of this season overall. What did you guys think of tonight's episode? Leave your thoughts and opinions in your comments down below. I'd love to hear from everybody. Let's be respectful and civil of one another's opinions, of course. What was your favorite scene? Was this a tough episode to watch? What did you think about it overall? So yeah, just let me know what you think down below. Also, don't forget to like this video and comment and subscribe to this channel for more episode review and recaps, which I will be posting on a regular basis. Also, don't forget to buy your tickets tomorrow. For tickets go on sale for Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, so make sure you're on that because they will sell out. This was the most anticipated movie of the year, if not of all time. Well, all time might be pushing it, but you know what I mean. And also stay tuned for the final and newest trailer that will also be unveiled during Monday Night Football, I believe. Although it'll probably leak online early anyway, but the point remains, stay on your toes. And don't forget to stay tuned for Sunday nights to AMC for new episodes of The Walking Dead. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Have a great rest of the night. And of course, until next time, wolves not far.